So I am Dr. Samprina Ghosh. I work in Medicover Hospital, Hyderabad. Now, what is the single-stage multi-level surgery we talk about? Basically, we want to address all the anatomical subsides of the upper airway, which we feel are responsible for the collapse, what is happening during the snoring. That, of course, starts from the nose, then tonsil, palate, sometimes tongue base, and rarely epiglottis also. A few cases we also do skeletal surgery along with some soft tissue modification. So MMA can also be combined with a turbinoplasty or tonsillectomy. So wherever required, basically it is to be individualized according to the patient's need. There is no hard and fast rule. So why this concept came at all? So let us talk about this paper, which is more than 20 years back published by Sher et al., a very famous paper who are in OSA practice will be knowing this, that it talks about the success and failure of UTTT. And he showed that UTTT was effective in treating less than 50% patient of OSA, which is very surprising. At that era, UTTT was the only surgery which was improvised, and it shows the success rate is so low. So from there comes the thought process, why it is so low? The reason was, there were two reasons, that the surgeons were selecting all kind of palate to do only one surgery, which is UTTT, which is not the correct thing. And the second and more important is that they were not addressing all the anatomical subside. So if there is a gross DNS, a big adenoid, or there is a huge lingual tonsil hypertrophy, and we do only palatal procedure, that to one particular procedure, it is definitely going to fail. So from there came the concept of doing different modifications of palatoplasty and addressing all the anatomical subside so that we get a comprehensive and better result. So as a sleep surgeon, what we actually want? We want some kind of success, which there are various criteria for success, but basically we want to reduce the AHI more than 50% or at least 50%. We want to reduce the AHI below 20, and we want to improve the patient's perception, the sleep quality, the excessive daytime sleepiness, and overall the quality of life. So if we want to address all these things, why not do all the correction which we are seeing in our endoscopy or in the dice, whether it is static or dynamic, to give the best result. How I select my patients? First selection criteria for me is the BMI. So if I see a patient is very obese, 32, 35, I will probably send for bariatric surgery, which you just heard the talk about. And severity of OSA, if the severity is very high, like 60, 70, then I will think more of the maxillofacial surgery if there is definite deficiency in the box. So there is a box and content concept you all know. So I will try to categorize the patient like that. The second very important point, I discuss all the options with the patient. So patient should earn the surgery. If the patient is willing for surgery and the patient says, you give me relief from the snoring and OSA, whatever steps needed you do. If that permission is given by the patient, then definitely I will go for single stage multi-level correction. And the third is, when the patient is ready and I feel it is going to benefit, I will go for a drug-induced sleep endoscopy. The DICE finding will guide me what all steps I am going to do. So nose is definitely most of the time affected. Many adult patients do have grade 2, grade 3 adenoid, DNS, pontopulosa, turbinate hypertrophy. Once we reduce this, it itself gives a great relief from the obstruction. The second part, of course, is tonsil. Bigger the tonsil, I feel happier because I know this surgery will give great relief to the patient and result will be good. Third is, I would try to categorize the patient according to the Friedman stage. For me as a OSA surgeon, and anesthetist will judge the Mallampati classification. This will give us some idea about how difficult intubation or extubation can be, and also what is the percentage of tongue-based involvement will be there. So this is a with patient's permission I have put this video, okay, so I did not cover the face and all. So look at the apnea. This patient is undergoing continuous apnea, and if you see in the monitor there, how the saturation is falling, 82, 80. So this is an ideal candidate for me to correct all the possible level of obstruction. Though this patient came to me for nasal obstruction mainly, and on asking, the snowing and OSA, slowly came out. And so this is the DICE finding. You can see complete circumferential collapse at the level of velum. So this is how, when there is apnea, the saturation is falling and this keeps on going as a vicious cycle. This is my easy algorithm of surgical decision making, that if I see anteroposterior collapse, what I will do, lateral and circumferential. If there is minimal tongue-based involvement, I go with tongue-based channeling, which is a very easy, fast and safe procedure. If there is a gross tongue-based, then only I will go for coblation tongue-based reduction, or I will plan for a bony surgery. Epiglottis is rarely involved, but epiglottopexy can be done safely in the same sitting. So now I want to come to the point, why this debate at all? Why not everybody do single stage or everybody do a stage procedure? It depends on your OT facility, your training and everything. So I found these 7 points very important to decide whether which one you want to select. Number one, you need a very expert anesthesia team, because all OSA candidates are high risk for anesthesia. There will be difficulty in mouth opening, lot of issues are there. So your anesthesia team should be very good. You should have a good post-op HDU, where I keep my patients for 5-6 hours for observation, and the team who can detect and tackle any immediate desaturation if it is happening. Number 3 is a surgeon's experience. What I mean by this is, individual surgery by itself is not technically challenging. Palatoplasty can be done by anybody, tongue-based reduction a little more, but by surgeon's experience, what I mean that when a surgeon is doing septoturbinoplasty, then tonsil, then palate, every step have to be done very smoothly, quite fast and bloodless. Then only you can switch from one to another procedure, and overall you have to finish in a particular amount of time. Expert OT team, by this I mean your OT technician and scrub nurse, not only the anesthetist, because we are dealing with multiple gadgets when we do single stage surgery. I do DICE first, so I need the flexible endoscope, then I will ask for the coblation or radiofrequency for the tonsil, bipolar, microdebrider, if there is phase also involved in that. So these many gadgets, your OT technician should be very swift to put all together, and also to change the position. When you want tonsillar position, when you want face position, there should not be any time delay and a problem in doing all these things. And the last thing is comfortable ergonomics. So when you are doing nose, palate, tonsil, you should not strain your back. A nice good ergonomic should be there, that till the end, when you are reaching the end of the palate or want to do the tongue base, you have your energy left in the same way when you started to do the nose surgery. These are some of the healing picture I have given. Zeta palatoplasty, how it looks on day 1, how it looks on day 5, and how it looks after a month when it heals nicely. This is a post of Sam Robinson palatoplasty picture, the healing picture. So, what are the advantage of doing these things in single stage is, what I counsel my patient that many of the patients come from different city and different countries also. If you just do the nose and let them go, they may not come back to you even if the snowing continues. And the second thing is, there is a problem of taking leave from the office. So if you are doing at a time, maybe a 5-7 days leave from office will be sufficient, one-time anesthesia, whereas if you do it in 2 sittings, the hospitalization will be twice, the economic burden, the absence from office, everything is 2 times. So if the patient is ready and you are confident enough to deal with everything together, then I think it is always preferable to do.
Time is almost up.
Okay, I am almost done. Yes. So these are the advantages I already talked about. 3-4 slides more, sir. So this is my experience of doing 85 cases in last 5 years. And I did not get any major complication other than a few cases of secondary hemorrhage. That too could be managed in OPD by giving some hydrogen peroxide, gargle and medicine. Only one case I had to take to OP to again coagulate. The average hospital stay for my patient is only 2 days, sometimes even 1 day when I do gargarioplasty. Analgesia is the main thing. All the patients says pain, pain, pain when the palate surgery is done. That is the only thing I deal with. I have never seen any VPI or nasopharyngeal stenosis or any major desaturation, anything like that. So these are the immediate post-op and long-term thing we are talking about. The patient's perspective, all the patients were happy, their snoring reduced, their apnea went, even though AHI reduction was not always great, but the feel-good factor was always there. So these are the precautions that we need a proper planning with the patient.
Your time is getting
Yeah.
up.
So these are a few papers which shows that this process is safe and effective. This is a meta-analysis of 3,900 patients. So I think I will give it to Atul sir now. Time is over. You can come, sir. And this is the take-home message that single-stage surgery is safe.
Wonderful. You enjoyed your talk, Sampurna?